All right, let's talk about a huge energy shift happening right in the heart of the Arabian Peninsula. Today, we're diving deep into Oman's massive, ambitious plan to go from an oil and gas giant to a global superpower in green hydrogen. So let's get right into it. So, here's the big bet. Oman is pouring billions of dollars into the idea that its endless, sun-baked deserts and powerful coastal winds can actually power Europe's clean energy future. I mean, think about that. The big question, though, is how are they actually going to pull this off? Okay, so there's this big Green Hydrogen Summit coming up in Oman. And, it's not just some corporate conference. Think of it more like a massive coming out party. This is the stage where Oman is officially telling the world, we're moving on from fossil fuels and betting our future on clean energy. And listen, this isn't some spur-of-the-moment idea. Just look at this timeline. It's a seriously orchestrated national mission. It all kicked off in 2023 with a royal decree basically setting aside huge tracts of land for renewables. By 2025, they're launching their third round of project auctions. And the goals? They're aiming for over 1 million tons of green hydrogen a year by 2030, with the ultimate prize being total carbon neutrality by 2050. This is a long-term, all-in kind of commitment. But here's the thing. Oman isn't trying to do this all by themselves. A really crucial piece of the puzzle is their partnership with the European Union. And you've got to remember, the EU is desperately searching for new, reliable sources of clean energy. And this partnership, it's pretty much a perfect match. You look at Oman's Vision 2040, it's all about moving their economy away from oil and gas. Then you look at the EU's Green Deal. It's all about finding clean energy to meet their climate goals. It's this incredible symbiotic relationship where what Oman wants to sell is exactly what Europe needs to buy. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Look at this quote from the Dutch climate minister. She calls it a landmark moment. When you hear language like that from high-level officials, you know this isn't just a simple business deal. This is a deeply political partnership, a sign that both sides are locked in for the long haul. All right, so we've got the grand vision, we've got the big international partnership. But is any of this, real? Let's get down to the brass tacks, the actual deals, the dollars being spent, and the dirt that's already moving. Okay, first number you need to know, 8. That's right, 8 huge, large-scale green hydrogen projects have already been awarded. We're not talking about plans on a napkin here. These are real projects backed by major international players that are getting off the ground. So what's the goal for these projects? Get this. They're aiming to pump out over 1 million tons of green hydrogen every single year by 2030. That is a massive amount of clean fuel, enough to really shake things up and make a serious dent in the global energy market. Now, you might be wondering, how do you convince companies to invest these huge sums of money? Well, Oman is absolutely putting its money where its mouth is. The government is rolling out a $3.6 billion incentive package. We're talking tax breaks, lower fees. Basically, they're doing everything they can to make it a safe and profitable bet for their partners. They are taking the risk out of the equation. Okay, so what makes Oman so special? Why here? This quote from the head of Hydrome, which is the state-run company leading this charge, just nails it. He talks about the competitive trilemma. It sounds complicated, but it's simple. They've got cheap sun and wind, a government that can actually get things done, and they're perfectly located close to markets in Europe and Asia. It's that magic combination that makes investors so confident. All right, so we get why Oman is the perfect spot. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How are they actually going to make all this green hydrogen and, more importantly, get it to the other side of the world? Okay, just a quick refresher for everyone on what green hydrogen actually is. It's pretty simple, really. You take renewable electricity, and in Oman, that means tons of solar and wind power, and you use it to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. That process is called electrolysis. And because the whole thing is powered by clean energy, the hydrogen you get at the end is totally carbon-free, zero emissions. That's the magic. So how does it get from the Omani desert to a factory in Germany? Well, it's an incredible journey. First, they make the hydrogen gas using all that solar and wind power. Then it goes to a brand new terminal at the port of Duqm where it gets super chilled into a liquid. We're talking minus 253 degrees Celsius. From there, it's loaded onto these specially designed ships and sent all the way to import terminals in Amsterdam and Germany. We are literally watching them build a brand new global supply chain from scratch. And here's what's really clever. They're not just putting all their eggs in one basket. Shipping pure liquid hydrogen is one way, for sure. But they can also combine it with nitrogen to make green ammonia, which is a huge deal for the shipping industry.
Or they can combine it with captured CO2 to create e-methanol, which could be a sustainable fuel for airplanes. This flexibility is key. It means they can sell their clean fuel to a whole bunch of different customers.
Okay, so let's step back for a second. What does all of this mean? When you connect all the dots, the strategy, the EU partnership, the billions of dollars, the cutting-edge tech, you realize something huge is happening. We are literally watching the world's energy map get redrawn right before our very eyes. And this matters on so many different levels. For Oman, it's their ticket to a future beyond oil. For Europe, it's a new, stable source of clean energy, which is a massive deal for their energy security. And for the rest of the world, it's a game-changing blueprint. It shows other sun-rich countries how they can become the clean energy superpowers of the future. This whole thing could seriously speed up the global shift away from fossil fuels. And I think this quote from Oman's Minister of Energy and Minerals just perfectly captures their whole attitude. They're not looking at climate change as just a problem to be solved. They're seeing it as a massive opportunity, a chance to innovate and build a whole new, sustainable economy from the ground up. Which really leaves us with one big final question to think about. Oman is making a huge, bold play to be one of the big winners of this green transition. So, as this new energy map takes shape, who else will rise to the top? And what will our world really look like when the old energy powers are replaced by the new?